Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daminna. I'm with the Department of Accessibility Services at Cal State University East Bay. My title is very long: Accessible Technology, Media, and Testing Coordinator. It's new, so I'm still getting used to it. Presenting with me today are our College Link Program representatives, which are Bryan Fauth and Kalin Lucas, and our Workability 4 coordinator, DeLeon. Our director is Katie Brown, Dr. Katie Brown. A brief overview of our services is that we provide academic accommodations to qualified individuals with disabilities. We currently serve approximately 600 students out of our 13,000 total population. The purpose, I'm going to let you read that. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. But we're going to focus only on 3 areas today, and that's technology, which is my office, and academic support for students on the spectrum, which is the College Link program. Kalin Lucas will tell you more about that. And transitioning students from higher education to the workplace, which Marie will cover shortly, which is our Workability 4 program. Our office, Assistive Technology services include assessments. I don't know if you guys are familiar with AT assessments, but it's basically a consultation to match technology to students' needs. We provide software and hardware loans. We provide training. We provide alternate testing, which is basically extra time or room alone or converting your course material to, or your test to alternate formats. We also provide alternate media conversions for students with vision and learning disabilities to alternate formats like MP3, Kurzweil, Braille, large print, things like that. Some of the hardware that we provide on campus and to loan to students are MP3 players, ergonomic devices, digital writing tablets, note-taking devices like the young lady mentioned earlier. The Pulse Pen is a really popular item, which our College Link program will discuss more later. Audio recorders, FM systems, similar to what the gentleman's using in the front row, electronic spellers, talking dictionaries, talking calculators, and remote captioning systems. Some of the assistive technology software that we have available on campus, I've kind of broken it down by category of disability most served on our campus, are JAWS, screen reader, Zoom text magnifier, Kurzweil 3000, which is used mostly by students with learning disabilities as well as students of our College Link program, Kurzweil 1000, which is also a study skills software, but it's geared towards low vision and blind students, Inspiration, which is a mind mapping software where you can kind of diagram your thoughts and then export it into a document to prepare your papers when you're a more visual learner. Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is voice recognition software. Primarily at our campus, it's used by mobility, for people with mobility impairments like carpal tunnel or CP. We also have a program called Talking Typing Teacher, which is a text-to-speech program, but it also teaches you how to use the keyboard. And Ginger, which is a new addition to our software arsenal, which is grammar correcting software, which also has text-to-speech on it. We also loan software to students on a quarterly basis, and the 3 software applications that we loan are Kurzweil 3000, the JAWS screen reader, and the Zoom text magnifier. The technology most used at our campus by students on the spectrum are text-to-speech software like Kurzweil 3000. Kurzweil 3000 is not just text-to-speech, but it's pretty robust because it allows you to do things like on-screen highlighting, language translation, word prediction, mind mapping, like with Inspiration. But it's expensive, so when students graduate, I tend to try to show them Natural Reader, which is a free application that works on both the PC and the Mac. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of Kurzweil, but it has text-to-speech, so it gets the job done. Our most popular loan device is the note-taking device, the Pulse Pen. The Pulse Pen allows you to take handwritten notes. At the same time, you're recording the audio, and it syncs them together, but the catch is, like someone mentioned earlier, you have to use their paper, because the paper has dots that are programmed in it, so that's how it records the 2 and syncs them together, but it's really popular. And they'll talk more about that at the College Link program. And what I really like about it is that you can upload your notes to your computer and view them later that way. It's really good because you get that dual feedback, the audio and the text. So next up, Kalin Lucas and Bryan Fauth will tell you more about College Link, and then Marie will tell you about Workability 4. Thank you.
My name is Bryan Fauth. I'm a academic coach for the College Link program at Cal State East Bay. Cal State East Bay is one of 23 CSU campuses that serves the state of California. At Cal State East Bay, a program called College Link was founded in September 2010. The main purpose of College Link is to serve the campus's autistic community, and we focus on 4 domains. The main domain we focus on is academic skills, and the other 3 domains we focus on are independent living skills, social skills, and career skills. 3 of our students were kind enough to join us today, so I would like to introduce them. First up, we have Drew Lockfield. Drew is going to be a sophomore this year, and he's a history major. Next up, we have Mr. Benjamin Frazier. Ben is going to be a junior this year, and he is currently a computer science major. And last but not least, we have Mr. Kenton Barks. Kenton is also going to be a junior this year, and he is a theater major, in case you couldn't tell. Oh, math major, I'm sorry, Ben. Ben recently changed to major math. So I'd like to turn it over to my partner in crime, Kalin Lucas.
And I'm also an academic coach at College Link program. One thing I'm going to say, these gentlemen have made me more proud than anything. I used to be an educator. I still am, I think, but I used to be a math instructor. And one day I actually had a student on the spectrum who changed my life. And then I found out about College Link, and I haven't looked back. And it's been a joy working with these men. And one of the things I must say is, I know that we were talking about students in the transition age. It's usually ranging 18 to 25. There is the population of 25 and older that are severely, severely underrepresented. I just wanted to bring that up. Because Ms. Schumacher, you clearly said your son needed the support. And I'm glad that now the support is here. Hopefully, one of these days, College Link can actually broaden its horizons into other universities, into other colleges, and offer the same support. So please support us. Now, one of the things that we wanted to do is, again, you're hearing other people speak for people on the spectrum. What we actually want to do is give the people on the spectrum a voice of their own. So if you do not mind, I'd like to just take a few minutes, and these gentlemen have actually something to show you. Yes, indirectly, and I have no idea where it is on this thing. I'm the technologically disadvantaged person here.
Yeah.
You have it down here, right? This is ours?
Mm-hmm.
Representative of the College Link program based at California State University, East Bay. The College Link program is an academic support program for students at Cal State East Bay who are on the spectrum. This video consists of interviews of some of those students who are on the spectrum and in CLP, and their perspectives on how technology has helped them in school.
I use computers mainly for homework and math tutorials, writing materials, web essays and papers. And I also do research by going through Google search.
They help me find facts and find websites. They help me find lots of research on things. They can also help me look for books. They can also look lots of reasons. I can too much to explain.
I use the
time of it, because I frankly have terrible handwriting. I've always, ever since they taught me to learn cursive, and then I melded that with normal handwriting because I couldn't choose between one and the two, and your hand kind of gets used to something. I've had a weird melded chicken scratch, and it hasn't gotten better with time. And in fact, it went from being a mild annoyance to like when in junior high and elementary school, I'd always get the C on handwriting, and it would never improve because my handwriting was always harder to read. Until high school, where students wouldn't be able to read it, or if they were, it would take much longer because it was so, well, illegible. The most annoying thing, the thing that really depressed me, was when my handwriting was just disqualified in a way that none of my points count, and I let my team down. This team specifically being academic decathlon at Mountain View High. They just wouldn't accept my grade because I could not read. And I gotta tell you, it actually kind of hurt a lot. Because it's like I tried my best on it within the time frame, but it's like, nope, couldn't read it, so all my effort was in vain. Which is why the computer, the word processor specifically, has been so important. Because with the word processor, I'm able to express my thoughts clearly and show that I actually am a competent writer and can project my ideas down on the paper for others to see, besides my rather rambling style, talking about and projecting information that I've absorbed throughout my various lack of adventures.
My handwriting isn't all that good, so it tends to be more legible later on. And all in all, it just is really helpful. And I don't do a lot of writing out outlines, but when there's an outline in a document, I can then type. Someone can write out questions, and I can answer them, and I can frame an essay around that. It's a lot easier to add stuff into to typed paper than it is to add stuff into the middle of a written paper.
Now, for Kurzweil, it's an assistive technology that lets the information get read to you instead of reading it for yourself. Because it's a lot harder to read it and you just can't seem to get it into your head. So you've got to use the Kurzweil 3000 watts if you want to get some fresh information. Or if you're wanting to have an essay written, you've got to make what kind of mistakes you read. If the sentence starts getting too runny, you have to back it up, rewrite it, find out what the definition of something is. I find out what the answers are, how to find the answers. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot harder for me to lose documents than it is for me to lose papers. I have a tendency to lose stuff, and so the computer helps me so I know, yes, it's right here. I don't need to worry about where it is.
Make things easier to organize for people on the autism spectrum, or people to help them with coordination of ideas and studying.
During a lecture, or when a professor is placing PowerPoints or putting slides on the computer, I decide to make sure that it's useful to use the slides carefully and write the notes on a piece of paper so that I make sure it's the right one.
Another major way that technology plays a large role in these students' lives is through recreation. They watch YouTube and they browse the internet and stuff. They also put together this video back in 2011. Those are actual college linked students there. And I was surprised when I helped them make this at the level of technological ability they had and their improvisation and how they actually bonded when they were making the video. They really came together and produced this work, which also is pretty funny, I have to admit. They did a really good job with it. 10 years ago.
From all of us at CL, we'd like to say,
Thank you.
Would you guys like to take a bow? You guys want to take a bow?
I really am Mitt Romney stiff up there. Jeez, I didn't know my shoulders look like Aaron.
Before you guys go, I wanted to ask, would you guys like to do a Q&A
Oh, yeah.
right now? Or do we have time for a short Q&A? Or should we leave it till? Okay, you guys okay till the end? All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
No problem.
Can you hear me okay, or do I need to speak in this? I'll speak in here. What I wanted to say is that last part of the video that you saw was an actual project that they worked together. It was our attempt to have them bond since they had been working in the same program for about 6 months, and that was the first major breakthrough where they started talking with each other, hanging out with each other. So I cannot say enough how much technology not only helps these students in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, forming relationships and developing and actually showing their abilities in ways that most people can actually eloquently state, but they can actually show it. And that has more impact. And before, I just want to say as well that while they're in College Link, our program is actually to assist them through the academic side. Now, what happens afterwards? Because we have noticed there was the issue of when the student ages out of the program from the K through 12, there's no assistance in the post-secondary. And so our one concern was what happens when they're done with post-secondary? What do they do then? So we actually kind of put some brain cells together, and there is somebody who is actually assisting these College Link students. And I must say, there is much progress because we do have one student in our program who is now interning, and that is a huge success. He's going to become a junior, and he says, I am enjoying it. But again, if it wasn't without the help of this person, that would not have been possible. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce Marie DeLeon.
Workability 4, for those of you that are not familiar with Workability 4, I know there's a lot of DOR here, so you should be. It's an interagency collaboration between the State Department of Rehabilitation and various CSU UC campuses. At Cal State East Bay, where Workability 4 is actually housed in the Accessibility Services Department, so instead of with the Career Center. So I get immediate, there's a lot more interaction between myself and our students. We offer, the mission of Workability is to assist individuals with disabilities in their transition from college into the workplace. And we do this by providing pre-employment services to students, which include career development, resume development, networking techniques, mock interviews, etc. We also offer specialized recruitment events that enable employers to meet with students prior to reviewing their resume. It's an accommodation of the traditional job fair model that has actually been quite effective. It gives students a chance to make their first impression, which, nothing makes a first impression better than themselves. It allows them to actually make the impression on the employer before their resume does. And it has been very effective. So for students with ASD specifically, because we assist in the transition from college into the workplace, transitions should be gradual, not abrupt. So this happens very commonly. I'll get a student that comes to me, they're 3 months about to graduate, and suddenly the thought of having to apply for a job becomes very real. And for students with ASD, this transition, because job readiness skills take some time, like all skills, they take some time to develop. This is something that needs to be started long before graduation, long before, I would say from the moment they've decided what it is they want to do. And for students, most students with Asperger's or high-functioning autism, many of them know exactly what they want to do. They have an intense passion for specific things. And so they will tell you exactly what it is they want to do, which is good because then we can sort of foster that passion. And I found that it's particularly effective to do job development when, or to sort of move towards permanent placement if the student is actually passionate about what it is they're doing. But knowing what they want to do is one piece of the puzzle, okay? The other piece that they need to know is what do employers want? So once they know what it is they want to do, so for example, if I have a student that tells me they want to be GIS, they want to do GIS, they want to do cartography. Okay, the question then is, well, what is the job market asking for people who want to be cartographers? And the majority of the things that we find is that they're looking for, as it's mentioned in the past, they're looking for work experience, or they might be looking for sort of specific skills. The reason it's important for awareness of this early on is that if we know it early on, we can prepare it. Right? So, and that's the importance of internships, et cetera. And the reason this is so important, I'm going to go a little bit into my job development realm here, so bear with me, and I will tie it back in, but it is important to note that there is something called the hidden job market. What this means is that first piece of statistics there is that employers nationwide hire about 4 million people every month. Now, that doesn't mean that there's immense job growth by any means. It means that there is turnover, right? So, but there is hiring. Hiring does continue. 76 to 80% of jobs are never posted. Never posted, which means they're never online. 33% of employers report they can't fill jobs due to lack of qualified candidates, and nearly 50% of people find employment through networking. Why does this matter? Because the important thing that I want everyone to take away here, specifically my students, is that job search is a social event. In this current market, it is a social event. And so for students with ASD, this is the challenge, is in a job market that requires you to be social, we need to start working on those skills very early on. So, hang on a second. So communication is key. So how are we going to do that? And I know I'm getting time here, so I'll try to get through this as fast as possible. So communication is key. Ongoing communication classes to practice verbal and nonverbal communication, group or club participation, mentoring, either find one or be one. I have one student who has Asperger's, not with College Link, but has Asperger's and has found tremendous growth in being a mentor. Developing a family support system, volunteering, applying for an internship. The last two are critical because, as we all know, there's the key to experience or the reason why employers are searching for experience is because they want to know how you put theory to practice, and they want to know how you work in a social setting. So those kinds of things are particularly important. It's one of the things that I focus when I work with students in the College Link program specifically. And upon completion of graduation, employers expect that students are able to think critically, solve problems analytically, and communicate effectively. But they expect this on their resume to be demonstrated through work or academic experiences. So sometimes if volunteering or internships are not possible, academic experiences are just as important. So there's a reason it's called your academic career while you're in college. So it's just like you're working. And actually for many students, it is a full-time job. So projects within College Link are extremely important because they demonstrate what you could demonstrate in a work setting: teamwork, ability to problem solve, project management, etc. So another thing that we focus on. And then the last is, there's one other thing that I've started, and that's this concept of job carving. It's not a new concept by any means, but I'll explain it. Job carving is the act of analyzing work performed in a given job market and identifying specific tasks that might be assigned to an employee with a disability. Basically, to me, what that means is determining the needs of an employer and offering possible solutions to those challenges. So many students with Asperger's and high-functioning autism are incredibly intelligent, and they have a specific sort of niche. And then they're very passionate about what it is they have this specific niche for. So that's a wonderful thing to an employer if an employer could know it. And one of the things as I'm meeting with employers, like I said, 33% of employers are having difficulty filling jobs. And employers themselves, they don't know what they don't know, okay? So what that means is if I have a student who has an ability to, let's say, focus on specific things. They can, let's just give the example. We had one student interning at the library. The library needed to digitalize their tracking system from paper, okay? This particular student started that project and realized there are several things that the library needed to fix prior to doing this project. Offered that up to the student because of the diligence of this particular student, and as a result, in the end, the library created a paid internship for the student paying this student because they found a problem and a way to solve that problem. So to me, what this leads to, I hope, if we can continue looking at this from this approach, would be job creation. And I know I'm at time, so we'll be around to answer questions, but I want to say thank you.
What is self-advocacy? I'm going to give some examples. Setting boundaries, if you're uncomfortable with something, saying no, negotiating a conflict, that's self-advocacy. Okay, I'm on the mic now? Yay, I'll just lean forward a lot. Giving directions, so if managing your support team as opposed to having them boss you around, having the kind of independent living model where you employ them and you tell them what you need, that's self-advocacy. Attending your IEP meetings, advocating for your own accommodations in the workplace or at school would be self-advocacy. And then, of course, political lobbying and, activism on behalf of the broader disability community is also self-advocacy. So self-advocacy can be sort of summed up as speaking for yourself. There's a big fancy definition with long words on the board. Self-advocacy is also a civil rights movement, and that can get confusing for some people because they hear self and they think, oh, well, it's all stuff that you do that only affects you personally. But self-advocacy can also refer to, if I note, I'm having trouble getting accommodations in this area, and I talk to my friends who also have disabilities, and they say, oh, I'm having trouble too. Then we can all form a movement together and advocate for our rights in that respect, which is why Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, which is a political organization of autistic advocates, has self-advocacy in the title, is that we're advocating for a group to which we ourselves belong. Who can self-advocate? Okay, so when I bust out my talk about self-advocacy, a lot of people sort of give me this look and they go, oh, well, Zoe, that's fine for you. Like, you can go to college and write things and speak with your mouth and wear clothes and whatever, any sort of criteria, you can do all this. So yeah, maybe you can self-advocate, but what about other people with disabilities who can't go to college or who can't speak or who don't write as long things as you or whatever, they can't self-advocate, can they? So okay, I'm gonna definitively state these are the criteria for who can and cannot self-advocate. In order to be able to self-advocate, you have to have preferences and you have to be able to move one or more parts of your body. That is it. If you can do those things, you're good. If you're paralyzed everywhere, but you can move your eyes, there's computers that can follow your eye gaze, and you can use that to type out words and to make a choice, yes or no. Yes, I want to live here. No, I want to live there. If you have preferences and have any way to express them, and if you can move anything, you can express a preference, then you're in. So that is what I would define as self-advocacy. Thank you. Any disabled person communicating their wants and needs is a self-advocate. Not speaking doesn't mean you can't self-advocate. Anything that you can communicate through speech, you should also be able to communicate through sign language or through a good assistive technology system. Why is self-advocacy important for transition age autistic youth? Okay, before I address that question, I want to back it up and ask a different question. What is the goal of a successful transition? What makes a transition to adulthood successful? A lot of us would agree that the point of transitioning to adulthood is that you go from being a child who doesn't control your life to being an adult who does control your life, to the greatest extent possible. And the independent living movement, which is kind of where a lot of disability rights got its start, they would say that to be, living independently, it doesn't mean you don't need help with anything, but it does mean that you're in control of the help that you get, the services you receive, you're coordinating that for yourself. You choose where you live, you choose who you hang out with, you have a lot of options to pick from, where you're working, all that stuff, to the greatest extent possible. And to be making those choices and managing your life, you need to be able to self-advocate, to say, I prefer this over this. Excuse me, you have recommended me for this job, but that's not what I want to do. I want to do that job. Or I hear that I'm going to be put in an institution and that makes me sad. I would prefer to live in an apartment. Or any of those things. You need to be able to make your preferences known. I would also say that a successful transition involves changing the environment in which the transition occurs to make it habitable for people with disabilities. So just let's use the example of work. Okay, so if you want to have someone with a disability and they're going to go work in the community, there's a lot of skills that you can teach that person that will make it easier for them to work. You can teach them, first of all, the skills required to do that particular job. You know, you can teach them what is business dress and what's not, how to speak respectfully to your boss, whatever it may be, you know, showing up on time, how to take the train to get to your job, whatever it is. But then there's also things that that workplace is going to have to change to accommodate people with disabilities. And, you know, autistic people also can get reasonable accommodations. We can, you know, require that they let us use any of those speech devices we've been learning about. You know, we might say, well, this particular aspect of, you know, working in the workplace is difficult for me and it's not necessary, so why do I have to go to the company picnic, which will overwhelm me? I think I will skip that, or whatever it is. So I wear these headphones most of the time, and I just came back from an internship in the US Senate, and I wore these headphones every day to work. And, you know, I guess my parents could have said, oh, well, all attempts to teach Zoe to not wear headphones, or all attempts to teach Zoe to not flap her hands have failed. So we give up, she's going in a sheltered workshop. But instead, I learned to say, I need to wear these headphones every day. That's my right as a reasonable accommodation. I learned to say, sometimes I flap, sometimes I rock, it's what I do. It doesn't mean I can't do a kick-ass job at this workplace. Although, of course, not saying the word kick-ass to your boss is also a skill that you should learn for employment. But that's self-advocacy, though, to say, you know, this is what I am and this is what I do, and I do a good job, but I'm going to need to do things a little differently from your other employees. You need confidence. You need to know your rights. You need to know that you have the right to come in saying those things, you know, and you need to be able to say that without feeling shame about it. And those things take practice. Those are skills. Those are self-advocacy skills. Which is why I would say self-advocacy is vital in achieving both of those aspects of a successful transition to adulthood. Okay, so I want to talk briefly about how technology can help people self-advocate, especially for people who don't speak. This is super important. And you can do self-advocacy with PECs if you have the right cards. You can do it with a Dynavox or another system like Proloquo to Go on the iPad, any of those other iPad ones. What is really important when someone is using assistive technology to self-advocate is that they have the right vocabulary. So a while ago, I was doing a volunteer internship with some folks that taught autistic kids using ABA, with Applied Behavioral Analysis. And this kid I was working with used PECs to communicate, the picture exchange thing. So they would say, what's your favorite color? And he would pick red and put it in the Velcro slot to indicate, you know, the answer. So when he was on break, when he got sort of a break from his studies, they would say, what do you want to do? And they would give him all these choices, like, you want to go on the computer? Do you want to play in the sandbox? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you want to just, like, take a nap? Do you want a snack? But then sometimes if, like, they thought he was using something too much, like, oh, he's just been playing in the sandbox, he should really try something else, or like, all he wants to do is play this computer game and we want him to branch out, then they would take that icon away. And sometimes, you know, if he really wanted to play on the computer, he'd be looking and looking for that icon. He would even go in the box where we put the icons and, like, take the lid off the box and look for that one that he wanted. But he could not express the preference to play on the computer, even in his, what they called his free time, his free choice, because they had literally taken away his ability to say that. And, you know, for a child, obviously, whenever a child makes a request, like, you can't always say yes to that. If he said, I want ice cream for dinner, you don't have to say, yes, you can have ice cream for dinner. But every child should have the ability to say, I want ice cream for dinner, and have it explained, you know, no, we don't eat ice cream for dinner, but after dinner you can have ice cream for dessert, or whatever it is. But just as, you know, you wouldn't sort of tell a neurotypical kid, oh, don't utter the word ice cream. Like, not only can you not eat ice cream at this time, but you may not request ice cream. You know, that's a bit much. And taking away an icon from someone is really teaching them that their choices are ultimately not respected. You can give them an illusion of choice by saying, if you could have any dinner, what do you want? And you can choose between Brussels sprouts and sauerkraut, or whatever it is. you need to give people the options. You need to give people the vocabulary. This is something that I really like a lot. A woman called Amanda Baggs made this. It's a sheet of Proloquo to Go icons, and it's labeled boundaries. And she has these all in one place because she is a survivor of abuse. Lots of autistic people are. And she thought it was really important for her to have the vocabulary on her speech device to set boundaries. So she has things like, step away from me, I don't want to talk about that right now. She has things that are really relevant to autistic people, like, I'm not a child, don't patronize me, which I liked a lot. You'll notice there's some swearing on this. She uses some adult language, and you wouldn't put that on an iPad for a kid, but this is an iPad for an adult. So sometimes an adult needs to use that kind of language, and I think, that needs to be one of the choices available to an adult. And when you use words like that is your own choice. But, just as because I speak, I could swear right now if I felt it was a good idea. So someone who doesn't speak still needs that opportunity, that choice. All right, another aspect of self-advocacy through technology that I'd like to cover real briefly is social media. So I got into advocacy through blogging. I have this blog, Illusion of Competence, which I started writing when I went to college just because I was really struggling with my own transition to living more independently, and I wanted to be able to talk about it with other people who were doing the same things and, get my opinions out there. And the cool thing about blogging is you can go to other people's blogs and say, hey, I read your thing, this is my blog, do you like it? Let's talk about how our experiences are the same or how they're different. And then out of that can grow political advocacy. I'm now really involved with Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. A lot of people involved in Autistic Self-Advocacy Network got their start, writing their opinions on social media. Especially for autistic people, sometimes that's easier, than going up to someone and saying, this is what I think. It's easier to put it on a blog. And political advocacy, social media is, of course, a great tool for that. ASAN does a lot of action alerts. So they'll have opportunities on their website for you to write an email to your senator or sign a petition, just ways to get involved in political advocacy that don't require you to pick up a phone and call someone in case you can't speak or, are shy of calling people on the phone, as a lot of autistic people are. I hate calling people on phones that I don't know, but I will write an email whenever you want. So that's just a good way to get people involved in advocacy, both political advocacy and just talking about their wants and needs. Blogging can be a good place to start that.